Why Gen Z abandoned morals for money. You already answered the fucking question. What is the reinforcer there? Money. It's exactly why Johnny Somali did what he did. All right, so we're going to get into this. We have time for another one, and this will probably take up the rest of the stream.
Catch Me If You Can with My Parents. If you aren't familiar with it, it follows a teenager.
Actually, start over. Hold on.
At the ripe age of 5, I went to see Catch Me If You Can with my parents. If you aren't familiar with it, it follows a teenager named Frank Abagnale, played by...
Was a really good movie. I think this is low-key one of DiCaprio's greatest performances. Really good.
By Leonardo DiCaprio, who becomes one of the most successful bank fraudsters in US history. However, that is not the part of the movie that I found particularly fascinating when I suddenly gained consciousness a few years later. What really intrigued me was how this character could convince so many people to do whatever he wanted through sheer confidence alone. He faked being an airline pilot,
That's true. Yeah. In my early 20s, I actually idolized this person. Believe it or not. I thought that was really impressive. It was like, how can you get people to do things that you want them to do? Don't have morals, that's why. You know, that's how you do it.
Doctor and a lawyer to such a believable degree that he was instantly offered jobs and money wherever he went. Frank hadn't even finished high school, and he probably wasn't the smartest guy ever, and yet his incredible sense of self-agency allowed him to become more powerful than anyone his age. We hear stories of fraudsters and conmen like this quite often, usually through films based on true stories that frame them as cautionary tales about what happens when you slither and slime your way through life. But I don't think that's the cultural sentiment these days.
No, I don't think that's the cultural sentiment, because back then it was always understood. It was always understood that eventually it'll catch up with you. At least I believe. I believe it was always understood that it'll eventually catch up to you. Everybody that did it tried to prolong their success as long as they could, with the idea that it would eventually meet them wherever they're at. Nowadays, it's the risk doesn't outweigh the reward. So to double down and to double down over and over again, it doesn't punish success as much. Still punishes it, but not as much. Like, for example, Pirate Software. Pirate Software had some controversy. Completely obliterated by online discourse. Completely obliterated. Yeah, he could probably still be successful. It'll probably just be himself. I don't think he can actually have employees anymore, but he could probably still make it a full-time job and still get enough revenue to have a very good life. Now, he's not going to be a deca millionaire necessarily or anything like that, but he could still be very successful, I think, you know. So to do shit like this back in the day, you didn't have the internet. You had to commit actual fraud and crimes. Today, it's just more a morality issue that isn't necessarily illegal.
With the rise of social media and now artificial intelligence, a new type of rich, powerful youth to aspire to be is emerging. One defined by new money and few morals, interested only in creating the most fanatic, attention-grabbing products possible at the expense of everyone else. This is the...
Yeah, and then we talk about crypto, and then that does become a very blurred line of legality that could potentially catch up to people, and I think that it should catch up to people, but nobody's fucking talking about crypto because it seems like it might be too much of a task for people to keep up with. Maybe. I don't know.
Rise of the algorithmic aristocracy.
Yup.
Would Charlie Kirk have gotten assassinated if he were Chad? Well, probably not, and here's why. Good-looking people experience something called the halo effect, so it's quite possible that if Charlie were to be better looking, someone would...
No! No! If he were to mog, if he could have mogged on some people, Charlie Kirk would still be living. Are you saying that he needed to mew more? Is that what you're telling me? Brother, if he would have just been mewing, it would have all been prevented.
Wouldn't have hated him enough to assassinate him. What happened to him is quite terrible, and this might be an insensitive video.
I do believe that the halo effect exists to a certain degree. To a certain degree, it does exist. And then there's a certain threshold. There is this like little threshold of the perfect amount of halo effect and then it becomes diminishing returns. It becomes detrimental on this other end. And the reason being is you can become so hot that now you're a threat to everybody, and everybody will treat you like shit, or they'll either have ulterior motives with you because of the halo effect. So there is a buffer of halo effect to where you're just hot enough to where people admire you to a certain degree, but you're not too extremely hot that now you're an annoying, threatening hoe that only gooners enjoy your presence. Well, whatever. So I do think it has an effect. There is a drop off to where it's diminishing returns.
To make, but I'm really trying to bring awareness to how brutal the black pill is.
Here's a guy you've probably seen on the internet lately. He goes by the online persona name Clavicular. And yes, he did just say that Charlie Kirk might have not been killed if he
Okay, so Clavicular, is that the one that I'm pretty sure ran over somebody that was stream sniping him? I think. I don't know. I think that might have been him.
had been more attractive. But what you might not know about Clavicular is he has a real name. Braden Peters, born...
This dude apparently would take mallets to his face and like fucked himself up to restructure his jawbone so he could like mew harder.
In December of 2005, was a normal kid from New Jersey. He had a dog, a father who worked a typical business job, and a mother who was a bodybuilder.
That jawline's a 6 though, brother. That jawline's terrible. Ain't gonna be getting bitches with that.
You might be wondering why I'm talking about him in the past tense, as if he's passed away. That's because Braden Peters, or at least the idea of him, has been put to the grave, evolving into a bastardized, maximized version of him thanks to the influence of social media.
Looks
When
maxing.
Braden began browsing YouTube videos of Rich Piana and bodybuilding.com forums, his mindset on life drastically changed. Though pretty unconfident and awkward before the internet took hold of him, posts describing shoulder-to-waist ratios and jawlines pushed his insecurities.
Whenever you hyper focus on materialistic external appearances, all of that, you start to promote a lifestyle of quantity over quality, and you completely lose the plot on what quality of life actually is. Always see it. You always see it. And we see it. Listen, chat. I'm just gonna tell you right now, like, I am now Unk status. I've been Unk status. I've been aura farming since the 1900s. I am Unk status now. Okay? I am Unk status. We've seen it. We understand. We see people that had quality over quantity over quality of life, and they fall off fucking hard because they don't know how to appreciate some small things in their life, and their life becomes this constant rush or seeking of small dopamine hits. And I don't know, I've seen a lot of these people turn to hard drugs and everything else. We've been around long enough now. I can finally say shit like that. I've been around, blah, 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 blah. Hey, I've been around. I can say that now. Yeah, whatever.
He's over the edge, causing him to obsess over one goal: to do everything in his power to become the most popular looks maxer who ever lived. Looks maxing, the attempt to maximize...
Those eyebrows are a 3, bro. Those eyebrows are a total 3. You got to do something about them. Look, I'm just gifted genetically for my eyebrows. All the women always tell me, they're like, what the fuck? Why are your eyebrows so nice? I don't understand either. It's just the way I'm born. Get good, scrub. Get good. Just kidding. I don't give a shit.
Maximize one's physical attractiveness through both common and extreme means led Clavicular to smash his face with a hammer in hopes that his bones would grow back stronger and sharper, perform dick-ups by placing weights on his penis to increase girth and erections.
What? No, that's the thing from Tenacious D in the Pick of Destiny. It's called a cock push-up, and it... No! People actually doing cock push-ups in 2026? I don't even know what to think. Chat, like this video if you like doing cock push-ups. All right, cool.
Strength and inject testosterone by the time he was only 14. With a lifestyle that extreme,
that's fucking stupid. I'm sorry, but your parents have failed you. If you're injecting T at 14, your parents have failed you. What is that going to have on? What effect is that going to have on you long term? It's not going to have any effect on you long term, especially if you're fucking dead because you have a large heart and you're going to end up dying at 36. That's crazy.
a young age, no less, it was only a matter of time before the clavicular ideal began to garner widespread attention. He started uploading YouTube videos documenting his looksmaxing process, injecting peptides, and detailing his daily routine to manage his cortisol levels, something he repeatedly stresses the importance of.
What the
See, this is a. People should really seek therapy, man. People should really seek therapy. You should not feel like you have to do this shit in order to understand, respect, value who you are as a person. And you don't need to do that for others to value you. And if you do that for others to value you, they don't fucking value you. They don't. What do they value? Not you. They value this artificial version of maybe you, but not the real you. Learn to like yourself just a bit. And if you don't, then do the inner work, not the exterior work.
Is this? There's cheese on it.
But when he began streaming on the platform Kick, that's when he really achieved major virality. Clavicular
So it's Kick's
streams
fault.
are the epitome of an absurdist postmodern society. He throws out slurs as if they're commonplace.
Thanks.
And when he's out in public, frequently gets into fights. I could go on and on about Clavicular's backstory, but I think I've proven to you that
Yeah, I don't like
Radian's
people
new
like that.
persona is
Never did.
largely a product of the internet and the attention economy. And in this reality,
They go out to a bar and they're like, what the fuck, bro? What the fuck, bro? Fucking meet me outside, bro. Fuck you up, bro. Fucking dude, I never liked that. Oh my God, I hate that. Like, whenever I was in high school, I was a fucking weird kid, okay? But yeah, I was just a weird kid in general. What I would always do was I felt like I was like the mother of the fucking group. I'd always make sure that my bros could have a good time and they weren't gonna fucking go to jail and they weren't gonna die or overdose or die of alcohol poisoning. Always made sure that the floor stayed even. Like, I made sure that they just wouldn't go out there and fucking hurt themselves or die. And always seeing these groups out and about in public was not for me, man. It's for some people. I just can't stand it. You're just causing too much havoc. There's too much attention being drawn. Like, all of it's just icky.
morals and positive impact become an afterthought. To really drive this point home, we can look at a more recent instance of Clavicular's extreme behavior. But before we do that, let's talk about something that allows you to create your own models and other useful items, which is today's sponsor, the Frozen Arco FDM 3D printer. Try out their printer.
Cool printer. So the reason why it's been reinforced, we look at the function of the behavior itself. Function is attention seeking. So he probably had one good moment on Kick that really reinforced it moving forward. And then you become more drastic, and you start to engage in those behaviors more and more and more because it pays off. You're not only getting the attention, but you're also getting access to tangibles. You're getting access to money. You're getting access to luxury items, all this shit. Access to women. So we understand what the behavior is. They're the function of the behavior. It's just, it sucks that that's what society rewards. That's what society rewards. That's just the facts.
Link in the description.
Facts don't care about my
December
feelings.
24th, 2025, Clavicular live streamed himself driving over someone in his Cybertruck. In the video,
These guys were both just nuisance douchebags. Let's just look at them both. They both are.
man, later revealed to be another live streamer, is standing in front of his car being a nuisance. Clavicular had dealt with similar situations in which this guy showed up on his stream and caused problems, but this was the first time he decided to act violently. Afterward, you can even hear him say that he hoped he killed the guy.
Is he dead? I don't know. Hopefully.
Now, what punishment did Clavicular receive for running someone over? Nothing. He spoke to the police about what happened and was...
I saw this and I didn't think he was going to get any... I didn't think there was going to be any punishment either. It's kind of muddy. They would absolutely have to go to court, and then they would have to do deposition and all this other stuff. And then they have to see if it was intent, if it was with intent.
free to go shortly after. You can make plenty of arguments for why what Clavicular did is, in fact, not a crime, which many people have been doing on Twitter. I'm not calling it X. But what this really highlights is that in our current society and
Of course, people on Twitter, yeah, whatever. I despise Twitter.
attention economy, there are little to no repercussions for acting as flagrantly and polarizing as possible. In fact, in many cases, it is now rewarded.
Oh, it's always
equivalent
rewarded. No, of course it's fucking rewarded. It's not punished. They don't have a system of punishment for extreme behavior. They don't. And there are some studies that show that punishment procedures don't really work in the first place. Because what happens is if there's no reinforcement of whatever they're doing, then typically they'll end up going somewhere else. Kind of like the Johnny Somali incident. Actually, very like the Johnny Somali incident. Punishment procedure did not work. And what is a punishment procedure? Punishment procedure is removal. Well, it could be addition or removal of something in order to decrease a behavior. And that could be the targeted behavior of acting like a whatever out in public, you know. So that's what a punishment procedure is. It's the addition or removal of something in order to decrease a behavior. And a lot of people think that punishment procedures don't work. And there are some cases where punishment procedures should absolutely work. For example, I want to decrease the behavior of somebody stabbing me with a knife. Then I'm removing the fucking knife. Removing the knife or adding a bullet, you know, if they're trying to stab me. That's going to decrease the behavior. So there's some people that believe that that's unethical, but in this situation, a punishment procedure for somebody like this isn't necessarily going to work because they immediately turn around to something that provides the reinforcement. It could be TikTok, because we just have so many avenues for this to continue. It could be TikTok, it could be Kick, YouTube, Rumble, whatever. That's what usually happens.
Viral, shooting Clavicular into mainstream superstardom, even more than he was already approaching. And due to his popularity, Clavicular has had a New York Times article written about him and was...
What's a way to alter somebody's behavior without punishing this? Differential reinforcement. You could reinforcement any other behavior that you want to see, but are platforms going to do that? No. Are algorithms going to do that for, you know, consumers? No. Anything that cuts into a company's equity, anything that cuts into a company's profitability, no, they're not going to do that shit. Why would they do that? Asking them to spend extra money on things that they don't need to spend money on. It'd be nice though, because this part of society sucks. But yeah, it's just, that's how the world works, pragmatically speaking.
Was even invited to walk on a runway show in New York City for the designer Elena Velez. With that kind of positive feedback for his behavior, what do you think that signals to him? I need to become more extreme. I need to become more confident and certain. I need to look smacks even harder. I need to drift farther and farther away from deeply thinking about the world's problems and
behavior.
Exacerbate them through my own actions.
Yes.
Clavicular has evolved from the face of the looksmaxing community into a mainstream personality. During an appearance on the Michael Knowles Show, which is affiliated with Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire, he told Knowles that even though he leans closer to the political right, he would vote for Gavin Newsom in 2028 because Newsom is better looking.
Yeah, but I mean, like this next election cycle.
These people are allowed to vote. And that's not a doomer statement. That's not a doomer statement at all. These people are allowed to vote. They have the right to, especially if they're U.S. citizens. However, that should be more of a warning than it is a doomer statement to say, hey, we should probably like look a little bit more into this whole voting thing and actually vote. Because that's the metrics that we're going by right now. Is he mews better, so I would totally vote for him. I don't agree with his politics, but at least he's a handsome person. Like, that's the whole metric that tells you if a person's good or not. Outward appearances. They never get you anywhere, my friend.
Who's going to win? It's going to be Gavin Newsom against JD Vance because JD Vance is subhuman and Gavin Newsom mugs.
JD Vance is subhuman?
Fucking stupid. He's using the Reddit bullshit terminology. Get out of here. He is subhuman and Gavin Newsom mugs. No, these are the people that are going to vote for Logan Paul. Get out of here.
What makes you say that?
Ugh.
He's got a very
Guys, everybody learn your candidates. Go out and fucking vote.
short total facial width to height ratio. He's obese, very recessed side profile.
I has returned. Adulting is done. I am just, I am at a loss for words. Just listen to this clip. I'm gonna rewind it, Bill.
Yeah, JD Vance is up. He's gonna win.
Is better looking.
Yeah,
He's
but
voting based on who is better looking.
I mean, like this next election cycle, who's gonna win? It's gonna be Gavin Newsom against JD Vance because JD Vance is subhuman and Gavin Newsom mugs.
JD Vance is
These people are allowed to vote. I don't want to be here no more. All right. So here's the deal. I don't know where I was going with that. The deal's done. These people are going to vote for Logan Paul to be president one day.
human.
Yeah.
That's
What makes you say
crazy.
He's got a very short total facial width to height ratio. He's obese.
I should run.
Very recessed side profile.
But this guy's going to say that I don't mew well. He's going to say that I'm not a good mogger. He's going to say that my body fat percentage to muscle mass is too low.
Whereas Newsom is like 6'3" Chad.
Does Clavicular actually think this way?
I think, okay. No. Do I think he actually thinks this way? I'd say he probably believes about 65% of this. Or at least there's like 65% of it, maybe. He playfully agrees with it. But yes, hot takes gets views. Exactly. He's doing this because people are going to engage with it and be like, you fucking idiot. Yes, I've convinced them. What are you convinced? What do you mean? Do you think the earth is flat? No. Sorry. No. And don't you tell people that you convinced me, because that's completely just false. All right.
Been developing since his early teens, who genuinely thinks he should vote for whoever is the most attractive. But a lot of what Clavicular...
These people are going to vote for Logan Paul. You guys are not talking about that in chat. Why are we going to allow Logan Paul to run the country? Oh, wait. I don't think you guys were here for that part of the stream. Yes. Logan Paul just got a political endorsement.
Now it does and says is merely just to generate attention and therefore more money, power, and influence. In a GQ article, which has been a really useful reference for what I've been describing in this video, Kieran Press Reynolds puts it like this. To anyone in the know, Clavicular was pretty clearly just saying shit. He was put on the spot and came up with a provocative answer that fit neatly into his impossible worldview, namely that good looks are everything to the point that they can determine the course of history. He isn't going to vote for Newsom. He probably isn't.
Yeah, that's true. He probably isn't going to vote at all because it's a waste of time for him. Why would he vote for anything? Why would he vote for anything whenever his lifestyle is reinforced? He doesn't have to have political pundits to affect his bottom dollar or anything like that. He's just living life and he's getting paid for it. You know, he's getting paid. He's getting reinforcement. Yeah, he doesn't need
to vote at all because he thinks politics is a waste of time.
I mean, yeah.
Through sensationalist behavior, Braden Peters has transformed from an average awkward teen into Clavicular, a caricature of himself, amplifying the most polarizing aspects of his character and using the internet to reinforce the impulses behind his negative actions.
That's true. Everybody's playing a character.
Of a long,
everybody's playing a
character. And healthy future.
Even me. This is a character.
Of an immediately gratifying, rapid rise to fame. And here I am contributing to that by making this video. Nice. In the attention economy, where mass financial gain comes from spectacle over depth, cooperation, and intellectualism, more and more people, young people especially, abandon the search for knowledge and productive discussion.
The companies could do differential reinforcement of other behaviors if they really want to change how society works. But you think they want to do that? Fuck no, because it doesn't get them big bucks. It could, though. They are the ones that could literally change it. From a behavioral analysis perspective, or behavior analyst perspective, they could absolutely be the ones that change how we value things in the real world. Do they want to? No, because they would actually have to do research and study shit, and they just don't want to. It's okay to play a mask as long as your goal is to better the world. There's still a price to pay for masking, but we all do it. I don't even know if it's okay to play a mask if, as long as your goal is to better the world necessarily. Like for me, my view is that we're all degenerates. I think that if we go out with this mindset that we want to better the world, or if we want to create some sort of like inherent good, I think it's okay to have that as an urge. But I'm not gonna have that as my entire brand, because I know I'm just as degenerate as anybody out here. I know that I'm a fucked up person. I know that, I do the things that I shouldn't do, etc. I don't try to portray myself to be anything other than that, because once I do that, I kind of am held captive to whatever audience actually comes in here. This is basically, this is how I view it. So the moment that I do that and I try to do this stuff out of altruism, whatever audience I breed from that, whatever audience comes in from that, I'm held at gunpoint to those people. Now I have to be this virtuous type of person. I have to do X, Y, and Z. I am expected, my morals are expected to be at a higher level that way. However, if I come out here and I tell you guys, I'm a sinful person, I am a degenerate, I am all of these things, there's nothing I have to hide from you. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing I have to hide from you. And people that respect that and see the authenticity of that aren't going to hold me to a higher moral standard. I'm not going to be held at gunpoint by those people anymore. So for me, it is beneficial for content creators in the long run. It's more beneficial to hold yourself in a low place because we start doing this like moral hostage shit, or this hostage of morality, and we expect people to be kind to us, but they've already held us to this high moral standard that we just can't live up to. I don't think anybody can live up to this high moral standard that we think our egos have. I just don't think that it's possible. Like Emerald thing a few months ago. Yeah. That audience will hold you captive, and they will absolutely hold your head under the water and try to get you to drown, to admit to whatever viewpoint that they have. Absolutely. So I don't think, I think it's not healthy for me to try to portray myself in a better light necessarily. I do wear somewhat of a mask, and that's just for personal information. There's some things like about, my wife's relationship and mine that, of course, why would I? That's just personal things that a husband shares with his wife or whatnot. I'm just saying in that general sense. Yes, there are some things that you have to do. There's some things that you mask. There's sometimes that you do these things, etc. But yeah, that's the way I view it. I don't want to hold myself or be held at gunpoint by a community that I build, making them think that I'm some good person, and I know that I'm not. We all know that she wears the pants, man. It's fine. Listen, I've heard it a few times where people were like, man, your wife really, it was my mom that was really hard on me, not my wife. My mom was extremely tough on me, which I said earlier in the stream. She used to tell me all the time, listen, no woman wants no sorry ass man that doesn't know how to take care of himself. Straight up. So that's the reason why I'm as hard as I am on myself. All right, continuing.
And instead focus on similar, though usually less egregious, ways of cultivating attention as clavicular does. When I speak about what drives people's behaviors in society, I always return to the word incentive, because without the proper incentives and rewards for doing good, difficult things...
Incentive, what is a function of the behavior?
Most young people aren't going to do them.
And you can remember it by SEAT, S-E-A-T. One of them's sensory, one of them's escape, one of them's access to tangibles, and attention.
In the past, there were strong incentives to pursue higher education and to be a decent person. People with a college degree out-earned those without across the board. Social cooperation before the internet and smartphones made it incredibly easy to acquire our necessities without interacting with anyone in person required at least a baseline level of manners and social skills. Now, you could argue that these qualities are far more optional.
Yeah, you don't even have to go out for an interview most of the time anymore. Like, there used to be this whole pomp and circumstance for interviews. You know, you would have to show up, you'd have to wear a certain suit, you would have to sit down in front of, and like so there are formal interviews, they do happen, but a lot of it now is over the phone. It's just you're talking or you're texting. Like there's a texting interviews and shit like that now. So it's just less commonplace than it was back in the day. Even like hanging out with our friends, there's these social situations that we as a society had to grow up and learn how to navigate that a lot of people now have never had to navigate before. For example, we would grow up, and if we wanted to talk to our friends, we'd have to call up their parents on the damn phone and have that we'd have to stumble around that awkward social exchange of, is Johnny, can I speak to Johnny? And oh, he's fucking grounded. He done pissed me off. Click. Like we had to do that. Now it's just like you fucking text them, and you never have to hit that wall of that social building. Sometimes, depending on the job, showing up in a suit could take your chances. Yeah, I mean, you show up wearing a suit to be like a fucking shopping cart like collector or something. Yeah, that would be a little bit sus, you know. But yeah.
You don't need to be particularly smart to accumulate large amounts of wealth from nothing. In fact,
that's true.
It's sometimes more advantageous to at least act a bit stupid. You also don't need to be especially likable. All you need to do is understand something that, in the past, only the wealthiest and most insulated parts of society truly knew. The answer to the question, what gets the people going? And I believe the rise of AI has only accelerated this problem. Enter my next candidate for leader of the algorithmic aristocracy, Cluely founder and CEO Roy Lee. Now, Roy Lee is not someone I can describe as unintelligent. He was initially offered admission to Harvard, but that offer was rescinded when they found out he had a high school suspension. Instead, he attended another Ivy League school, Columbia University.
Pull that shit back. You had to. No way. I didn't know that they could do that. So they can just like yoink your shit if you had one suspension. That's pretty crazy. Well, I mean, I guess Ivy League schools have different standards that they have to hold up to, I guess, but I never realized that. That tells you how much I believed in myself to be an Ivy League student.
University. I learned quite a bit about Roy and his aspirations and intentions after reading the article Child's Play by Sam Criss, which, by the way, is the best article I've read this year. But for those of you who find it hard to focus on more than a few words on a page for more than a few seconds, I'll try to explain parts of the article in my own words and relate it to our attention aristocracy. Just like Clavicular, Roy is someone who harnessed the power of the internet to the point where he felt he could do and achieve anything. From the moment he began attending college, he believed what he was learning would soon become obsolete, offering little incentive towards his larger life goals. He wanted to be on the right side of AI's great divide, or as Chris puts it, the bifurcation of society. Essentially, it's just a fancy way of describing how AI is going to make the middle class basically become extinct. Acting on that desire, Roy partnered with an engineering student.
Timothy Dexter, trust me, look him up. Biggest dumbass mixed pink ever. Yeah, yep. No, I could absolutely believe it. Is AI going to make the middle class extinct? I don't know about that. See, my view on what middle class is. My view on what middle class is kind of skewed. People think middle class and they think somebody that lives in a lot of these cookie cutter like neighborhoods, $400,000 homes, you know, like that. Like what? Yeah, what is middle class? Can you live with struggling week to week? And my thing is like middle class is before the upper class. And the upper class and the middle class themselves, like, it doesn't make sense, the divide. To me, it seems more like middle class are decamillionaires. Middle class are decamillionaires that could live off of their investment portfolios for the rest of their life. You see what I'm saying? Because the divide from there and the upper class, those are like multi-millionaires, upwards of billionaires. That's the upper class. So how the fuck does that equate to somebody middle class that's living in a $400,000 home. That's making like 6 figures a year. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't think that's true middle class, especially with the job that Roush and I have worked in. We see what middle class actually is. Those are the people that are deca millionaires. That's the way I've always seen it. Hear me out. All these people talking about how poor they are, driving a brand new 60K SUV with a brand new iPhone. Yep. Yeah, they are. Well, I mean, they're poor because they've kind of became a slave to debt, essentially. So, I mean, they are poor, just poor choices. They are of poor choices.
Neil Shanmugam, and together they founded Interview Coder. What was Interview Coder, you ask? A tool designed to cheat on coding interviews. Using a transparent window that could overlay one side of a Zoom meeting, the LLM Claude could listen to questions and provide answers in real time. Roy even used the software during an Amazon interview and successfully received a job offer because of it. Of course, he declined the offer and instead uploaded the footage to YouTube, which led to his expulsion from Columbia and sparked his rise to fame.
Yep.
Seeing how viral the clip became, Roy quickly capitalized on the hype and launched an upgraded version of Interview Coder called Cluely. Most people first heard of the brand Cluely through, unsurprisingly, a viral advertisement circulating across social media, which showed Roy using speculative, Cluely-enabled glasses on a blind date. It was marketed as a cheating tool for literally everything, accompanied by the description, "We built Cluely so you never have to think alone again. It sees your screen, hears your audio, feeds you answers in real time. Why memorize facts, write code, or research anything when a model can do it in seconds?"
That's, yeah. Man. Because listen, a lot of people will see shit like this. Yeah, that's the video I'm working on tonight. A lot of people will see shit like this and they're like, this is horrible, blah, blah, blah. But pragmatically speaking, people that are processing information a lot more quickly, people that are using this to their advantage, frees up mental facilities for them to do other things, and they will always have an advantage. So, yes, it might not feel right, it might not seem right, but the people that are adapting with it to this degree, now, are some of these things legal? We don't know yet because there hasn't been case law. We don't know how any of this unfolds. But the people that adapt, but that's not how it used to. That's not how it will be used. No, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's not how it will be used. People will adapt to it, and then they will use it in these other weird gray areas, and they will advance much more quickly. Now, my hopes are the people that use this in that other way to scam, to do all this other shit. I do hope that eventually there's case law that can help really crack down hard on it, because it will need to be cracked down hard on. Like, they will absolutely have to be tough on this shit because it is so readily available. But yeah, it's like people can do this, and a lot of people will scream morals, but at the same time, these people are going to get ahead. You know, meta glasses that can feed you dark psychology shit. Sounds scary. Yeah, I mean, it does sound scary, you know. But it's going to be used. Way down the road, it'll be used. It'll be used to not use your brain like Idiocracy. Yeah, I mean, that could definitely be a thing. That could absolutely be a thing. But yeah, I mean, the people that will adapt to it will become ahead. They will gain incentive from it. And at a certain point, it's just like, do I do this to feed my family to make sure that we're okay? Especially if AI is as big as a threat as it is, it no longer becomes a morality thing, because it's like, oh, well, damn, my family comes in and like my family's involved, like all these things. So that's where we get into this weird, like,
the
back
future
and forth,
won't reward effort. It'll reward leverage.
Yeah,
Those words,
it gives you leverage. Those seconds that you save gives you leverage over anything. The quicker you can process information is leverage. That's more time to use on other tasks.
perfectly echo the central theme of this video and reveal Roy's intentions with his product. They also reflect the culture inside Cluely's offices themselves. Chris, who visited the space, describes it beautifully. On the ground floor, I found a stack of foam costumes in plastic crates, each neatly labeled Sonic Hedgehog, Olaf Snowman, Pikachu. A significant part of working at Cluely seemed to involve dressing up as cartoon characters for viral videos. Through a door, I could just glimpse a dingy fitness dungeon housing 2 treadmills and a huge pile of discarded Amazon boxes. On one of the machines, a Cluely employee panted and huffed in the dark. We avoided eye contact. There was something he very badly wanted to impress on me, which was that Cluely cultivates a fratty tech bro atmosphere. Their pantry was piled high with bottles of something called Core Power Elite. I was offered a protein bar. The inside of the wrapper read Daily Intentions. Be my boss self. We're big believers in protein, Roy said. It's impossible to get fat at Cluely. Nothing here has any fat.
What?
The kitchen table was stacked with Labubu dolls. It's
Oh,
aesthetics,
shit,
Roy
what the
explained.
fuck?
Women love Labubus.
So we have Labubus. What
At this
the
point in my
fuck?
reading, it was clear that Roy and Clavicular shared many of the same underlying values. They're both people who grew up on the internet and fully understood the attention economy, thereby rejecting efforts to create something meaningful or positively influential, instead choosing to bastardize their self.
And that's the thing. I think it's important to be positively influential, but I do not think it's important to hold yourself to that metric or that I don't think it's important for you to hold yourself in that virtuous light. I think I can have a positive effect on people without holding myself as morally superior to anyone, because then I become a slave or I become hostage to that community that I will bear. Yep.
Image in the pursuit of money, power, and fame. Roy, like many founders in Silicon Valley, generated enormous hype around the speculation of the product rather than the product itself. He doubled down on social media attention and spent significant amounts of money producing viral advertisements, even though
that's
few
smart.
people actually understood what Cluely did. Then, in June 2025, Cluely raised $15 million in a Series A round led by Andreessen Horowitz. So, what is Cluely's revolutionary product? Does it
It's like Lunchly, but for clues.
really allow people to never think again? Well, it turns out it's one big nothing burger. It's not much more than a ChatGPT wrapper, which occasionally doesn't even work, as described in the article.
Yeah,
But
man.
somehow they generate.
Guess what? The attention economy worked and he got paid a lot of money for a product that was never going to exist. And the thing is, there's no case law to say anything about this right now. There's not a scam because he wasn't really selling. Well, if he was selling it, then that could have been blurred lines of scam. But here's the thing. They never had to sell it in the first place. They just sold clicks and hype and speculation. That's not illegal as far as I know. That's not illegal. I don't think there's case law on it right now. But that's how this stuff is being used. They're like, let's make it as hype as fucking possible. And yeah, there's nothing that's really illegal about that, especially if they weren't selling a product. If they weren't selling a product at all and it was just a speculation, they didn't have a Kickstarter, it was just speculation, it was just views and clicks and stuff like that. Yeah, they walked away with a bag for something that they didn't even have to release. Interesting.
Rated $15 million in funding. Why?
Oh, wait.
Because somehow GPT wrapper, which occasionally doesn't even work, as described in the article. But somehow they generated $15 million in funding. Why? Because in our current economy, the primary driver of wealth for the already wealthy is speculative hype and sensationalism rather than a useful, shippable product.
Yeah, absolutely. If Star Citizen ain't breaking any laws and this is fine, well, not right, but legal. Yeah, no, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. It's not right. It doesn't seem right morally. It doesn't seem right. But it's gonna happen.
This dynamic has existed in Silicon Valley for years, but Roy understands that it's no longer confined to San Francisco. He understands that attention is the most valuable currency of the 21st century, and being highly agentic and self-assured, he's willing to abandon higher purposes in favor of generating as much wealth as possible for himself and the small circle around him. Roy's product is also the perfect representation of our current societal incentives. Why put in a ton of effort to learn in school when it doesn't matter as much anymore? Why go through the hard work of trying to find a relationship if I can just use a dating app and take out a bunch of the awkward scene of first going up to someone and gauging whether they're interested or not? Why write a video essay on YouTube myself if I can just ask AI to write it for me? I swear I wrote this video. No, what matters is that you filter yourself, curate your brand, and amplify the parts that get the most engagement. Because with enough engagement comes financial stability. And financial stability is the backbone of nearly everything we pursue, especially in a world where the cost of living keeps rising. There are a couple of arguments I want to
Yeah,
address.
and because of that, because the instability that we see, you know, we're gonna see an increase of all of this type of behavior. You know, there's instability that's going on, and some people might be completely fine with how they're living right now, but it is the perceived or the perceptual shift. It could just be perceived instability, and you see that shit in the stock market. There's perceived instability, and the stock market will start to fucking crash. You know, everything could just be running just as normal, but we're gonna see that. You know, so we're gonna see this type of behavior. Definitely, we're gonna see an influx of it for sure.
You might have. The first is, isn't it a good thing that more average people can create an exceptional life for themselves through means like social media?
I think
Yes,
it's good.
in theory,
Yeah.
due to social media
I think
and the
it can be.
attention economy, there is more of an opportunity for the average person to make it out the mud, so to speak. I also like the fact that it kind of requires
Yeah, because I honestly don't believe like 15, 20 years ago, like, yeah, there's not really a whole lot. There's not as much access for a chance. And I think that idea keeps people hopeful, is that there is a lot more access for a chance at making it in some sense of that word, whatever that means.
it forces you to develop confidence in yourself, to present yourself in this way, which in most cases is a great trait to have. But the reality is, you need to be a very specific person to know how to generate attention and act and think in a certain way, which I'd argue most people can't or aren't willing to do. There's also
Yeah.
100% a bit of luck involved.
There's a lot of times I'm like, there is a lot of times I've been up at night and I'm like, should I start up an OF bot and start farming some people? Should I do it? And then I fall asleep and I wake up the next day. I'm like, yeah, no, I would never do that. That's just dumb. So yeah, let's keep going.
And I dread a society where everyone's interests in how they want to contribute doesn't vary, and instead everyone just wants to become influencers. I mean, that's kind of happening already. The other argument you might make is,
That's the new
hasn't the
economy.
world always worked this way? Like, haven't the most influential people always been the ones who are the most confident and persuasive rather than the smartest or the most virtuous?
Very
I would
true.
say yes to an extent, but today the incentives for doing genuinely good or difficult things have fallen so dramatically that an
You gotta need to catch up on that group text. Just said something similar yesterday. Oh yeah, I'm so fucking far behind in those chats, man.
unusually large amount of people are willing to abandon authenticity and avoid the kinds of challenges that build moral character. So this is the new generation of influence, the new algorithmic aristocracy. A generation of Frank Abagnales who, through sheer confidence and abandoning of effort and morals, only focus their limited efforts on whatever causes the most people to pay attention to them, giving them insane amounts of influence and therefore opportunities for social status and wealth. Popularity is now accessible to
And the thing is, these types of tactics will always sway. They will always change. It's just given a certain demographic, given a certain maturity level. There are so many external like components that'll go into how this is implemented in society, or how people utilize it. And I do think that at a certain point, could it be beneficial? You know, could it? Yeah, and it all depends on what we value currently within that moment in time. You know, yeah, that's the way that I at least view it. Oh my goodness, ad break starts. I'm gonna snooze this because we're almost done.
to almost anyone. But with that popularity comes a relentless competition to become the most outlandish, confident character imaginable. As
True.
for what we can do to stop this, a lot of fucking things would need to change. We would need to radically change our lifestyles and the economy and bring it to a place where we reasonably
Done, but
won't
what else
reach
will I
in
do with my day?
decades. But that doesn't mean
Exactly.
we shouldn't try. As I often say, seek friction in your life. Challenge
Facts.
yourself intellectually.
Man, this
Don't
whole
offload
stream
your
been
thinking
on
to a
it
random
today, chat.
online influencer
On it.
opinion. Yes, I recognize
Good
the
stream.
irony. Or a chatbot, and try to articulate your own thoughts in your own words through your own writing.
Friction. You can still use tools. I'm an avid believer in tools. It just doesn't need to be the savior of your life. You still have to put in some sort of fucking effort. Okay? Yeah, this has been a good stream. Productive.
Engage with difficult texts. Do kind things for people simply because they are kind to do. Inconvenience yourself sometimes for the sake of others. Just be a normal fucking person, man. Not normal in the negative connotation sense, but like normal.
Don't go treat a homeless person well. Just be like, oh my God, for YouTube, fellas, we're gonna eat with this homeless person for 72 hours. Don't do that. That's awful. That's lame.
In a way that you can just have a conversation and not have it devolve into looks maxing, brain rotting, 6-7 skibidi toilet, whatever. I gotta keep up with the brain rot terms. I gotta stay tapped into this stuff because
I'm too tapped in.
That's out of style. But you get what I'm saying, right?
I'm too tapped in, brother.
I
get it.
Be normal fucking people. How about
I get it.
Let me know what you thought about this video in the comments, and if you like
that was a great video. I'm subscribing to him, and I'm liking the video.
You want to
subscribe, like the video, and we'll probably watch some more of his stuff later on. With that being said, man, it was a good stream. We really looked at all of it. We looked at all of it today, chat, and it was awesome. It was great.